Ryan, thank you so much for doing this interview with me, man. I gotta say, big fan of yours, fan of the band, just fan of everything that you've accomplished in the last 15, 20 years. Man, I wish we could be doing this interview in person, but because of COVID-19, this is the way we have to do things. How have you been holding up, man, in the last 13 months? I mean, we are going to talk about a new solo single, and congratulations on that. But how have you been holding up, man? I mean, the world is definitely a different place than it was, say, 2019 and definitely 2020.
Yeah. Well, it was. It's so funny the timing of this because 2019 was a bit of I kind of shook the snow globe of my life a little bit, shook everything upside down, packed up everything, moved back to Nova Scotia, to a small town, kind of just got everything settled, almost got, right now up here in the attic of the house that I've turned into a studio. I kind of got all this stuff happening right before our tour got canceled. And when I say our, that would be holy fuck. So, because we'd released a record just over a year ago, just ahead of everything shutting down. So it's weird timing because I was already sort of gearing up for a big change, and I didn't know how big a change it was going to be. I didn't realize how much of it was going to be beyond my control. But I'm quite grateful though the way things turned out because I've afforded myself a little bit of um, wiggle room and in and around all the other stressful things. I get some time to sort of reflect. I get a lot of time with my new family. My daughter's only 2 years old, so it's an interesting time. It could have been a lot worse, but like I said, I had a whole year's worth of touring canceled, so that definitely threw me off. I think it's going to take a while for me to adjust to going back to touring. It's like the sea legs. I got my land legs now. I don't know what's coming next.
You know, it's funny you say that. A lot of artists I've spoken with, as much as they love the tour, they love to be in front of the crowd, they love that connection. One of the things they are enjoying is the fact that they get to sleep in their own bed, not a hotel bed, not jammed in some van or in a bus or on a plane flying somewhere where in the middle of the night you're going, where the hell am I? I have no idea. You're actually home. How does that feel? Home cooked meals and a warm bed that you are very familiar with.
Yeah, it does feel really good. I think many of us are going to look back on this time and feel like we wasted it. It's a funny thing to say. I mean, I'm sure I don't want to speak for everyone. I know there's been certainly it's been a struggle for many people, and it has for myself and my family and friends, of course, at times. But there's this almost like this feeling where what did we do for the first 8 months? Most of us did nothing, because we
Right.
were kind of adjusting, and it wasn't as creative a time as we wanted it to be. There was maybe some pressure, like, oh, this is my chance. I got to write my great opus. I got to write my masterpiece. And most people I know didn't do anything. Kind of had this like almost helpless feeling, and now suddenly, right at this very moment, for me, I can speaking for myself, I have a lot of these deadlines that are coming up. I have a lot of stuff to announce. We're talking here today and regarding a new single. Suddenly my life is busy again, and it makes me wonder, what did I do? What did I do with all that time?
But you did do something because we are talking about a single. Was this single written, and don't give the name just yet, and what's the story behind it? I'm going to hold off on that for a second. But was
Yeah.
this single
Okay.
written, okay, was it written before the pandemic or during? And there's a reason why I'm going to ask this in my next question.
Gotcha. It was written before, and it was actually for the most part recorded before. Um, it was mixed, and the album kind of came together during the last year. So, yep. Okay, now I'll ask you what the question is.
Okay, so now the second question is, the reason why I asked this is because this song sounds so like your life is at peace. That's what came across to me from the beginning to the end. If there was ever for melody and lyrics of a song that talked about a person's life from the day they were born to the day that it ends. That's what that song came across to me. Where did that piece come from as a strong element for this song?
Wow, that's a huge compliment. And I'm glad that you say that because I think a lot of that comes from just kind of a process that I've been working towards. You know, I pick up the guitar and I sing, and I don't. There's this thing where I'm aware of, maybe self-consciously, I don't want to be just another guy with a guitar. Like I kind of feel like I don't want to be sappy or morose, and yet I'm singing about things like death and loss and, despair, frustration. I I am kind of singing about these things. So I think over the course of my musical career, I've been trying to find ways to express myself where it feels um, just kind of unadorned, unpretentious, and I do want it to feel somewhat peaceful. I take great comfort knowing that the listener might find something kind of um, very matter of fact and peaceful and earnest in the delivery. And so, in short, I don't have an answer, but I do take it as a huge compliment because that's something I strive for, especially like I said, with more somber material, or it could turn into something that might be really kind of more saccharine or melodramatic, and I just don't want it to be that. So that's kind of a name of mine.
And the reason why, again, I say those two elements is because it sounds like really what you are talking about also is what a lot of people have been going through during this pandemic. Have you noticed the connection with that?
Yes. And funny enough, okay, so you let me know when we're going to reveal the title of the song,
Yes.
but the song title keeps coming up even as I'm doing interviews, um, without meaning to. The words keep coming up because it's almost becoming a joke now, because it's kind of what we're all asking for. There's this kind of acceptance, and also wanting more. Somehow it's all rolled in, but it's a little bit beyond us. And I had a friend give me a really good analogy on how, like, if you get stuck, if you're swimming in the ocean and you get stuck in the current, your best means of survival are to relax and allow the current to kind of take you until it gets a little weaker, and then you kind of swim out. But if you fight it right from the beginning, you're just going to exhaust yourself and you'll drown.
Okay. Let's get into it. What's the name of the song? And really, where did this story originate from?
It's okay. The song is called "Little More Time," so hence that's what I mean when it keeps coming up. Like everybody's asking for it, and even and especially my management right now, they're like, "Where's this? Where's that? We need the single. We need the album artwork." And I'm like, "Can I get a little more time?" But it's an older song, and in fact, it's almost 10 years. It's probably 10 years old, and it got shelved and put away for quite a while. The process of making this record was taking a little bit of recently written stuff, and then also going back over some stuff that, most of it, you know, stuff that's been was kind of sitting in a pile of stuff from about 10 years ago. Um, for some reason, I think I had a big writing spurt at that time, and so I just never was able to get through all of it. So I probably have another couple records worth of stuff from 2011, around that time. But again, not to be too morose. I had a friend of mine who I didn't know very closely. We'd only hung out a couple times. A musician that he seemed like a great guy, and he suddenly passed. He died in his sleep, and it just kind of made me really feel like, first of all, that's a strange way to go. It is peaceful, so maybe that's sort of where some of the peace comes from. But it was a little bit of that feeling of, like, lyrically, I found myself kind of writing about just wanting more time from someone, whether it's him or anyone, just kind of wondering what it could have been. But there's nothing you can do. You can't wish it otherwise. It's just the way it is. There's nothing that can be done with it. So you have to sort of make amends with it. You have to make peace with it. And ultimately, he wasn't one so close that there's certainly other people that could have written a more suiting eulogy for him. So it was more about me. It was just more about like, this is how I feel. Um, Kind of that vacuum of space when somebody leaves or some expectation isn't fulfilled. We have to sort of take a step back and find peace with it.
Curious though, when you are performing or singing this song, whether you're recording it or singing it for fans or however you're doing this, do you lose yourself in the song? When I say that, as you're singing those lyrics, are you thinking about things yourself, about your life, your family, your 2-year old, your relatives, whatever, friends? Do you lose yourself in the song? Because again, you can hear the honesty in your voice and the emotion coming across in it. And that's just the recording.
Well, the recording is a really great place to do that, to sort of lose myself in it. I certainly have a lot of a visual connection when I'm working. Um, Quite cinematic almost when I'm working on a record. And so it is there. It's when I'm in the studio and I'm trying to connect with something, because that's the take that's going to really matter. That's the one that you're preserving, that you're going to share. You really want to. I mean, I really want to connect with it, and I do think of all those things, and it does help. It really helps get the right tone, the right intention, and then on stage, playing it live, like night after night, I think it's good to find that balance, because you don't want to get so lost that you forget why you're even up on stage.
Mm.
You don't want to like totally get lost in the headlights, so to speak. Um, and yet at the same time, you don't also want to be thinking about like, oh shit, I got to pay my heating bill tomorrow.
Very,
So
very
yeah,
true.
on stage, there's like yeah, it's a precarious balance on stage in front of an audience, because you need to be there in that moment, but you do also kind of want the song to carry you away. But certainly in a studio, it's great if it can carry you away. If you can go somewhere while it's rolling, while you're recording, that's that's a special take. You don't want to get too um, nervous about the time you're spending or the clock or what you got to do next. It's definitely good to be in a place where you can kind of let go a little bit.
Is there a video on this yet? I'm just curious because I just heard the track.
Yeah, I hope so. Like I say, I hope so because I'm working on it right now.
Okay, and the
It's
reason why,
like
okay, and I'm going to
it's
interrupt. I'm
yeah,
hoping that it's actually going to be an
yeah.
animated one. Is it? Because I could only see that in, just colors and rainbows and just flying and stars and universe and Earth, and I just see so many things with it.
Wow, it's so funny to say that, because that was absolutely where I was first gonna go with it. I put a message out to friends, is because I'm here in rural Nova Scotia, not connected to the friends and people I had around me in Toronto. So I'm sort of starting over. So I was really reaching out to try to find people that could help me complete this vision. And it was going to be one of the first times I did a video that was only abstract.
Mhm.
It was going to have a bit of a sense of humor to it if I could have pulled it off the way I wanted to. But as it is right now, it's going to have an animation element, and it's going to be a bit of live. So it's not exactly floating in space with rainbows and stars, but it'll hopefully capture some whimsy and some gravity as well.
I can't wait to see it. With this great single, are we looking at other singles to come out, EP or album, while we're still figuring out what is going to happen in 2021 and in 2022?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we're rolling up for a record, a full album release. So there will be a few more singles coming out, and it's it. I'm not sure what the future holds, but if we're all optimistic that by the time this comes out, the full album will be able to be up in front of an audience and touring. And I'll do my best to do that out here in Nova Scotia, where we have a bit of a bubble. In fact, I'm playing a concert this week, and I'm going to hopefully keep picking and choosing small events, given the restrictions. But yeah, my plans are to release the full record, hopefully tour it, and I'm always working on a record. I'm always working on a record while the other one is coming out. So I've already started, hopefully, what will be the next record. And as you know, I play in different bands, and so
Yes.
one of the bands I play in has a single coming out in June, and that's a band called Lids. Actually, it's not maybe as well known as some of the others. And then Holy F, we got some stuff we're hopefully working on. Nothing's done, but we're doing our best to keep busy. Of course, we're not together. That's the challenge. It's easier for me to be doing solo stuff right now, and it's going to take a lot more effort, I think, to get reunited with some of my bandmates from Holy F that live in the States and live in Toronto while I'm out here. So
Well, I'm just looking forward to
yeah.
what you're doing, man, because it sounds like this has definitely been an amazing journey for you during COVID. Social media, where do we go to follow you, man, to find out about this new music and everything else that you're up to?
Yeah, the best place is my the one that I'm most active with is my Instagram. That's just dusted underscore Brian Borchard. So my full name. It's a little bit, it's a little bit my day to day personal as well as music related stuff. And yeah, I'd say that's the best. I gotta kick myself in the butt a bit to get back onto the socials and really get, I'm firing the machine up, and hopefully it's a well oiled machine by the time this record is ready to release.
Well, look, you got a little girl to take care of. People can't expect you to be
Yeah.
on social media every 2 seconds. You got a little one running around all over the place. You got to catch her. So don't even sweat that. Look,
It's it's pretty crazy how much time that takes up. It's wild.
I believe it. Look, before we go, I am curious though, your professional name that you use, where did that come from?
Dusted. That's a good question. I had started playing music, way back under my own name. It wasn't really an active decision. It was a little bit just by default. Like, I'm putting a record out. I don't know what to call it. So even without calling it anything, by default, people knew it as my album. So they just, assumed it was Brian Borchard. And I didn't mind that. But as I started going out, and this would have been more mid 2000s, going all the way down to South by Southwest to play a show, doing different things, I kept getting put in these songwriter circle kind of things, which is fine. But, at that particular time, a lot of the artists I was being billed with, I just didn't feel I resonated with them or their audience, nor them with me. It felt like I was a little bit out of place with them. So after some giving it some thought, and especially getting busy with Holy Fuck, I was out there on the road. So I took a bit of a break. So coming back, I thought I'm going to change some things that I think are going to be an improvement. And the first one was just not wanting to play under my own name. And in hindsight, I don't think it would have made a big difference. And Dusted kind of just came to me. I like the past tense of it. I like this. It's sort of a state of mind. It also gives a little bit of a sense of an aesthetic or a sound. The only thing I'm finding, not exactly a regret, but phonetically, in your picture, you're in a loud room and you're trying to say what the name of your band is. It's the soft syllables that people think I'm saying Dustin, like the name, like Dustin Hoffman. That's what I named myself. I'm Dustin. And that's altogether weird to just change your name to being someone else's name. But yes, I don't know. I settled on Dusted. It sort of had an aesthetic to it, and it suited the timing of 2012. And who knows? Maybe one day I'll just go back to my own name. But now that I'm a middle-aged man, I can go back to singer-songwriter world.
Dude, you can do whatever the hell you want to do, man. Just keep putting out great music, and that's all I care about. So, hey, look, man, thanks so much for making time to speak with me. Um, any other new music that you're having with yourself or other bands or whatever else? Hope I can talk to you again with that. And crossing fingers, man, we can do this in person because Zoom is cool, but one on one,
Right.
that's where the energy is.
And
Definitely.
I want to be there. I want to be in your studio. I want to check out all of that you got behind you. It looks great.
Hey, look, man, you can check it all you want. I can send you the picture. It's all virtual.
I see. Yeah, as I was saying that, I'm like, The mic is really hot though. That's good.
Yeah,
That's not virtual.
that's not virtual. And everything else behind me is, man. That's the way you got to do it on Zoom. If you're going to do it, go all the
Yeah.
way.
I know
Again,
I missed my opportunity. I should have put like Godzilla behind me or something.
that's going to be the next one that we do. I'm going to hold you to that. Hey, like I said, man, thank you again so
Yeah.
much for the interview.
All right.
Great music. Be safe, and we'll definitely talk soon.
You bet. Thank you. That was fun.